Hi, everyone. Welcome to Boston New Technology's first DevOps Success webcast on how to innovate faster by expediting app and software product delivery. I'm Chris Rakenna, lead organizer for Boston New Technology. I hope everyone's doing well today. B&T is a volunteer-run startup technology and business network whose mission is to help local businesses launch and grow, especially startups, and we host about 3 free and not-for-profit events every month. And our events are geared towards connecting the community around educational and inspiring programs just like today's. This new series called DevOps Success features interactive interviews, seminars, and workshops with experts and leaders to help technology founders and executives manage and optimize their software delivery and support operations. We'll be educating you about the latest strategies, best practices, and technologies that will enable you to innovate faster, become more efficient, and deliver greater value to your customers. And today we have 3 simple requests. I'm going to flip over to my slides here. If you could please share this webcast post, we'd appreciate that for sure. And if you can share your comments and questions for the speaker on this webcast post, which is either in the comments on Facebook or in the chat on YouTube. And then also share your learnings on social media, share screenshots, and mention DevOps Success, and we will retweet you. Now, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've worked in software and app development for my whole career, and I just started a new job as DevOps advisor at Kaiburr, where we focus a lot on helping startups automate their software delivery, optimize their cloud services, and improve their security. So without further ado, please welcome Hariram Ananthasubramanian, who is the co-founder and CEO of Kaiburr. Harry, it's great to be working with you.
Hey, Chris. Same here. Hey, everyone. So we'll try to spend the next 40 minutes to go over some of the best practices and some of our learnings, in helping organizations to accelerate their software product delivery. I will share some of my learnings along the way, and hopefully it helps you, do better with some of your products. So that's what we'll focus on today. In terms of the high-level agenda, I'm planning to cover the top challenges, that the product leaders and other technology leaders face today with software product delivery. The high-level benefits as a model that we recommend for a good DevOps and CI/CD implementations. The kind of KPIs and metrics you can track, the kind of sophistication you should and try to enable, some of the best practices around the CI/CD process, and a little bit of focus on security and right. So that's what I'm planning to cover today. So when I get started, in terms of the challenges that organizations face today, there are challenges with respect to too many tools they have to deal with. They have challenges in terms of utilizing their available near bandwidth appropriately. There are challenges in measuring progress so they can continuously understand where they can improve and where they are doing well. And, not the least, a lot of times security and compliance tends to be reactive, and that can come back and hurt them. So these are the top 4 challenges we have seen working with different classes of customers. I'm showing you the kind of landscape that you have to deal with today, and this is probably tip of the iceberg in terms of the number of tools out there in the market. So these are the kind of tools that you use today to be able to be more effective, in your journey, right? Now, the DevOps and DevSecOps processes, which are synonymous in a lot of ways, depending on how you look at it, help you in terms of, continuously planning, building, testing, releasing and operating your software, right? I'm not going to spend time on explaining what is DevOps here. I'm going in with the assumption that you have some prior knowledge of what it is. I'll spend more time on the engineering and the architecture aspects of how you can utilize some of the DevOps concepts and methodologies to better achieve, success with your software products. Now, I'm showing you the kind of benefits that are foreseen, if you had a well-oiled, DevOps practices. Definitely really good lead time, fewer defects, more frequent deployments, and so forth. These are some of the numbers put out by Puppet in their, DevOps report. Now, if you look at DevOps, in terms of the cultural aspects, you are essentially looking at how do I have better collaboration? How do I have more meaningful communication? How do I operate in a manner where I embrace failure, where I fail fast and fix along the way, and an environment where transparency, right? So, again, I'm not going to spend too much on the cultural aspects of DevOps in this discussion, but I wanted to make sure you at least understand, some of the core pillars of the DevOps culture, right? Now, given that, high-level summary in terms of some of the challenges and some of the, high-level benefits of applying a DevOps-based approach, the next section I will spend more time in terms of the maturity models, that we recommend, as well as kind of approach you could follow in terms of getting better value from your processes. Now, this is, a high-level maturity model that helps you to look at some of the core aspects of how you perform activities with, your cloud functions, how you perform activities with respect to D and related activities, some of the core functions with respect to security, which is gaining more and more importance, in COVID and post-COVID times, because we see more and more of, security threats and breaches happening. So you need to be spending more focus on the sec aspects of the DevSecOps. Similarly, for many organizations, compliance is very important. Things like Sarbanes-Oxley compliance to be followed as part of your CI/CD process are very critical for many organizations. And how do you track progress, and how do you apply machine learning where possible, right? If you can do, as many of these functions, you should be able to achieve a lot of acceleration of your product delivery, as well as better quality of what you deliver and customer satisfaction. Now, the methodology with which we, recommend you apply this maturity model, is through these circles of influence. You start by automating what you could with your processes, but just automation doesn't give you the end results. You need ability to have visibility on your progress so you can see what's happening. You need security to be applied through your life cycle and your processes, so you're always securing what you are developing. You need to be able to apply compliance, so you build a compliance software and process environment. Similarly, you need to also optimize what you do, so you are spending, for where you require instead of spending all over the place. And most importantly, you need ability to continuously track KPIs, so you can measure all these pillars and iterate back on automation. Continuous iterative process where you start with automation, but you follow these methodologies. look at some of these core aspects in a more double-click mode and get into some of the details go along. So what I'm going to do is start with some of the KPIs and metrics. Now, before I do that, I want to check if there are any questions at this point. Okay. So with respect to KPIs and metrics, some of the top questions, with product leaders and engineering leaders today is, why are my delivery timelines off track? How do I perform and better traceability of my various sprint teams and my activities so I can be more efficient as an organization? How do I know performance of my various pipelines so I can execute better? And how do I ensure compliance with respect to my release processes while avoiding any bad practices with various branching, source code management, and build and deployment kind of activities? So for many of these questions, we recommend that you look into these 6 core pillars in terms of tracking and measuring progress. You need KPIs on efficiency, KPIs on requirement traceability. You need them on velocity and speed to market. In terms of change failure rate and quality of what you deliver, compliance and governance, and availability and predictability of your release process as well as your pipelines. If you can have the ability to measure yourself continuously on these 6 key pillars, you will do really well in terms of not just applying various actions and performing them, but also tracking if you are headed in the right direction on each one of them. Now I'm listing some of the more specific kind of KPIs for different persona, so you can also understand what are some of the examples of KPIs to measure, right? You're obviously, thinking of cost and, velocity if you're a product owner. You're looking at, some of the quality and the feature usage aspects if you're a product manager. The lead time and sprint efficiencies and efficiency of releasing your epics and stories and so forth are important as a Scrum Master. If you are an engineering manager, you're focusing more on process time in terms of coverage. QA manager is, thinking more in terms of quality engineering aspects like defect density and, test coverage and so forth. Similarly, there are some of the KPIs for, operations managers like mean time to recover, mean time between failures. For a security officer, it's mostly about managing risk in terms of security incidents or security vulnerabilities in your various security testing processes. And if you're a compliance officer, you're looking to track, process level compliance, your application level compliance and system level compliance. And if you're an SRE, you're focused more on the availability and the performance aspects of, your pipelines and your software and so forth. So those are some of the key KPIs, that you can focus on from different persona standpoint. I hope this gives you a bit more understanding on the kind of metrics that will help you get better at what you do and help get faster at doing software while maintaining the quality. So that ends, our section on the KPIs themselves. Are there any questions at this point? So what I will then focus on the next section, which is basically about the kind of sophistication you can enable in terms of your CI/CD processes. So I'm going to show you a few examples of some pipelines that help you to understand what kind of pipelines can potentially be built that can enable high degree of sophistication and better value stream management of your release process. In this particular case, you have builds with tools like Jenkins, code quality with tools like Sonar, the software composition analysis or OSS analysis is done by Black Duck. You have various rules on your process being executed by tools like Kaiburr. You have the image scans performed by Twistlog. Nexus is used for your artifact repository purposes, and UCD is used for your deployment purposes. So this kind of pipeline offers a lot of sophistication and helps you to both automate and have a very mature kind of a software delivery process. Another example that I show here has similar kind of tools, but for a different kind of an application. One of the key steps you can see in this particular case is you see a lot of Jira stages. So here is an example of how you could integrate ALM with your ALM tools like Jira or Rally or Octane with your software delivery process. So you can get more meaningful as more efficient, release processes. That also gives ability for easier handoffs between various stakeholders, as well as ability for you to, provide approvals, as well as get visibility into various stages of your process right in your ALM tool. So these are some examples of, such sophistication. So next up, I'm going to touch upon some of the CI/CD best practices. So before I do that, I want to spend a little bit of time to show you some examples of the kind of KPIs from a real world perspective on some of the pipelines as well that I showed you in the presentation. So if you look at it from a KPI standpoint, I'm going to show you some examples of good set of KPIs that you could track. And I'm also going to show you some examples of workflows that can be very beneficial for you. So if you look at it from a KPI standpoint, you want to be able to track cost, you want to be able to track effort, you want the ability to track defect density. In this case, it's 11.3%. You want to be able to capture maturity of your DevOps processing, automation, security, testing, governance, and process time efficiencies. Ability for you to track quality of what you're producing as code. Measure efficiency of what you're delivering, being able to track your compliance issues, track your security controls and where things are going, as well as track performance of various pipelines so you can know which ones are failing more often and you can act off them, and also track your various release processes as well as your sprint teams in terms of speed to market as well as efficiency. So these kinds of KPIs will help you to measure yourself better, and you can drill down on a need basis. If you want to, let's say, drill down on, particular kind of pipelines and be able to know better where you can improve and how you can improve. I'll show you some examples right here. So this is an example of a particular pipeline where the score is around 40 from a DevOps standpoint. As you can see here, it has gotten better testing score, reasonable governance score, but not much in terms of automation and in terms of process time. That's probably because there is more opportunity for automation with this workflow and pipeline. You can see here that there is significant time consumed in this release process, and a large portion of that is consumed for manual activities. Similarly, you can track, things like where am I, spending more time, where am I not efficient. In this case, the production release approvals and the QA deployment approvals have taken a lot of time. And you should be able to track other characteristics like what kind of security testing could I do more, what kind of test automation could I perform, so you can operate in a more faster velocity. Now, in addition to tracking some of these KPIs, you can also build some sophisticated pipelines like the example I'm showing here. In this case, it's doing build with Jenkins, approvals from Jira, various kinds of deployments with tools like Spinnaker, code quality and static analysis with Sonar, security testing with tools like OWASP and Twistlock, test automation with tools like Selenium and JMeter. So, if you could build pipelines sophisticated like these, you can achieve a lot of, lead time improvements as well as quality improvements with your release processes. So, given those examples, we'll go back and now see our next topic, which is more in terms of some of the best practices that you can follow, as well as some of the best practices you can actually track, with your CI and various product delivery processes. Showing some of them here in terms of the CI/CD process. You could follow best practices in terms of applying code quality, applying testing in terms of vulnerability scans or static analysis or dynamic analysis, have right kind of commit and pull request practices so that you can have better lineage between your story IDs and your commits, so you can track and improve. Similarly, you should be able to perform the right kind of peer reviews, the right kind of approvals and so forth, so that your process is at the same time continuously improving. Similar best practices, you can apply in terms of your branching strategies. Two of the common branching strategies they are, trunk-based deployment and Git flow-based branching strategies, right? Whichever of the two or any other variation of them that you follow, it will be helpful if you can also track them in a manner where you can tell what kind of use for release purposes or hotfix or for developed features, and kind of manage them and set up those processes as well as set up those approvers accordingly. Then you will get good value out of your branching strategy. We have seen many companies where they have a good strategy in place, but when it comes to implementation, they don't have a way to measure whether they are utilizing those strategies and implementing them properly. So it's important that you do both. So given that you have a really good ways to measure KPIs, you are setting up very sophisticated kind of pipelines like the ones I showed, and you're able to track best practices in an optimal manner. The next item I would want you to consider pretty seriously is continuous security. Many times this is not done proactively, and always many times done pretty late in the game, and you don't want to be doing that. This can introduce testing of your code, testing of your images, testing of your environments, release processes, and not just as one-time activities, but recurring automated activities with the right kind of thresholds. There is a lot of benefit that you can achieve in doing so. So the four key pillars that we recommend that you focus from a security standpoint are ability for you to set up security testing on various aspects of vulnerability scans or static analysis or dynamic analysis and so forth. Similarly, automating your security controls, creation of duties or encryption and access control, having the right level of secrets management so none of your secrets are lying out there in files and documents. Same way, maintaining the right level of active and updated security agent so that you're always up to date with your security, policies and controls. So I'm showing you some examples of the kind of security controls you can apply on a cloud environment. For example, things like having the right level of encryption, having the right kind of access control, making sure that you clean up after you use resources so that data or storage is not lying out there. Making sure you are utilizing the approved kind of localization of your resources, because that's important if you have compliance regulations like GDPR and so forth. So these kinds of security policies help you to stay ahead of the curve so that you're always focused on software delivery and a mature software delivery. I'm showing similar policies you could potentially apply with, quiz clusters. A lot of modern software development is happening as microservices, which are containerized, either as Docker containers or, in Kubernetes pods. So it's important that you have a way to measure your best practices on some of those Kubernetes clusters as well. Now, that ends, some of the aspects we wanted to look in terms of continuous security. We'll briefly touch upon the continuous testing aspects, right? Which is again very important that you take care of this and do as much of automated testing as early, in your cycle of your product, right? So some of the challenges that we see, customers complain about are, production incidents, high cost of testing, longer testing cycles, and too many critical defects found in UAT or production environments, right? Now, many times these challenges are because you don't have a very mature quality engineering and test automation and test ops processes. So it's important you look at aspects like requirements coverage, aspects like test coverage, having the right level of automation of your regression suite, automation of your functional test cases, of your smoke testing, as well as your performance testing, and having the ability to measure progress through metrics so that you know where you can improve from a quality engineering standpoint and continuously act accordingly, right? So those are some of the aspects I wanted to discuss, and what I will do for some of the items like security as well as best practices. Let me show you some examples. So these are some of the best practices, in terms of your CI/CD process, in terms of code quality and thresholds for your testing and thresholds for your various activities in your CI/CD process. So you should be able to track on each one of them, like I'm showing here. Here is an example of the kind of validation performed on code quality, where you're seeing which applications have followed that and which have not, right? If you can measure best practices this way, you can know where to improve at a very atomic level and go and apply those practices. Similarly, I'm showing some of the best practices you could apply in your cloud environments. You can do similar kind of atomic checks of the environment where you operate, so you can find opportunities for improvement, and you can go and improve them depending on where you see red, and with specific details on where you can improve in terms of a cloud resource, you can go and improve so you save cost, at the same time be more efficient in your overall management and operations processes. I'm showing similar best practices in terms of branching strategy here. There are more best practices in terms of how you configure your different environments. And if I go down further, I'm showing you some best practices on your ALM process, in terms of, the kind of story points you set up, how you have integrated stories with epics and initiatives and so forth. Similarly, in terms of security, you want to be able to track your security testing results across different kinds of security and tools out there. I'm showing you examples of dependency check and where you are failing for different applications. You should be able to perform similar kind of analysis on things like dynamic analysis, things like network analysis, web server, and other forms of servers. So this way you have ability to track where you are from a security standpoint and continuously improve. A similar kind of measure you could do in terms of your overall set of controls on security. So you can also track all of your controls and see which one of them are failing, and also track them in terms of severity. In this case, I'm showing you a particular instance where close to 1.8% of the issues are critical issues, and close to 12% are high. So probably those are the things that you will focus on to start with. So that pretty much is what I wanted to kind of run by all of you today. So I hope it was helping you in terms of both understanding some of the challenges, understanding some of the maturity models you can apply, and a bit more clarity on the kind of CI/CD processes you can set up, the kind of continuous benchmarking, continuous application of best practices, as well as ability to continuously secure and test what you're building. If you can do these in iterative manner, you should be able to improve every software delivery process, in terms of the 6 pillars that I mentioned: the efficiency, quality, security, availability, and performance. So I'll stop there and let me see if there are any questions that I could answer.
Thanks, Harry. Yeah, I'll kick things off. And I know you like to talk a lot about CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery. What are some of the common pitfalls that you've seen companies make in this area in automating?
Yep. So what I see a lot of times is people, tend to think that if they have a Jenkins file and if they have a Groovy script, they think they are done, with CI/CD, right? Generally, that's a good first step, but you can't stop there. You need ability for your CI/CD process to be as well thought out and oiled as possible. And many times if you look at an example like this, we don't see enough of focus on test automation, enough of focus on security testing, and enough focus on thresholds of what you do, so that you stop when there are things that are not good enough so you can improve. Those are some of the areas where I've seen organizations struggle.
Okay. And another topic you touched on a little bit was the branching of your source code. What are your recommendations around that?
Sure. So in terms of branching strategies, while you can follow, like I said, the two common ones out there are, the trunk-based as well as the Git flow-based branching strategies. Now, which ones are better suited for your organizations, you can decide depending on how frequently you want to be able to merge to master, release your software, as well as the expertise level of your developers. If you have really strong, experienced engineers, a trunk-based development gives you a lot of benefits in terms of time to market. But if you want more control, more validation of your quality, and better auditing and visibility of your processes, then a Git flow kind of a strategy where you have feature branches, your develop branch, and the right kind of release branches, helps track and produce results more predictably. So you can pick and choose some of these branching strategies depending on the kind of scenarios that I mentioned.
Okay, super. As we wait and see if some more questions come in, could you talk a little bit more about security tools for static analysis and image scan?
Absolutely. So, static analysis and image scan are, probably two of the most important security testing to be done for modern applications, because most of them are performed, in a Dockerized or some kind of a, images, right? So for static analysis, you could use tools like OWASP, you could use tools like Veracode, um, you could use tools like Sonar. For image scan, you could use tools like Claire, Twistlock, Aqua. So these are some of the frequently used tools for these kinds of security testing.
Okay. And going back a little bit to the KPI, could you just sort of summarize for us what the top 2 or 3 KPIs that most companies should be looking at?
Absolutely. So I would say, lead time is very important. If you can have a proper value stream mapping of your process and continuously measure your lead time, that's a good indicator for, how you are progressing. Similarly, I would definitely look at, defect density. So it gives you an understanding of the quality of, what you're producing. I would put those two as the top 2, if I were to pick just 2 of them.
Okay, super. And what are your preferred tools for automating testing?
So there are different tools out there depending on the purpose. If you are going to, perform functional testing, there are tools out there, like Selenium, Catalan, Tricentis, you know, Cucumber, and so forth. If you want to do more of load or performance testing, then you use tools like, JMeter. So you can pick and choose tools like these for automating, various aspects of your testing.
Okay, super. So what we'll do for everyone watching here live or later on, we will put together a summary of a bunch of resources for you all to explore more of these topics. And I think we don't have more questions at this time, but again, we are available. You can contact us at kaiburr.com. Just go to the website and contact us through there, or most of you have my email address, Chris McKenna, as the organizer of this event, and Boston New Technology. You can just reply to any of my emails that I've sent you, but we will follow up with those resources in your email. And would just like to thank you very much, Harry. Any final words here?
Nope. I hope you all had something to learn from this session, and good luck with your product development journey.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Harry. So if anyone is interested in a free advisory meeting with me and Harry, or if you'd just like to reduce your overall IT expenses, we can help with that as well. So just contact us. And our next DevOps Success webcast will actually focus on security-related topics. So if there are any particular topics of interest, you can definitely contact us with those, and we'll include them in the program. And we have the date to be announced, but look for that in your email. And then D&T's next startup showcase will be on August 19th. I will be focused on fintech and blockchain startup. So we hope a lot of you can join, and founders can sign up to present for free. And since we can't hear claps, let's wrap this up with a bunch of likes on the post, whatever post you're watching. Please share it if you can. And we'd just like to thank everyone else for coming, and we hope to see you at another webcast soon. Take care.
Thank you.